many of us has our films that we like to watch every single year, usually around Christmas time. But what about Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving always seems to get overlooked and nobody seems to care. As soon as the dinner is done, they're rushing to the store for the early Black Friday sales or online, and they just disperse everywhere. My family, for a short time when we did have television, we end up watching holiday films, and sometimes the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But one of the films that always got overlooked, even with my family, was Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. For some reason, never really heard of it. So, for many of you, this is probably like a classic from growing up. Me, I only discovered this film about like 5 years ago, and I have to say, it is indeed a truly wonderful film. It stars John Candy and Steve Martin. Steve Martin is Neil Page, who is just an uptight type of person. And we have John Candy, who is a shower ring curtain salesperson, considered himself the best in the world, or the shower rings, which I don't quite understand how shower rings you can get the best in the world. They're just plastic shower rings. But that's what he does. They run into each other first time when they're trying to catch a taxi. Steve Martin goes across and there's a brief cameo scene with Kevin Bacon, which is quite funny. They fight for a taxi. Kevin Bacon wins. Steve Martin, you know what, I'm just going to say the actors' names in the rest of this review because that's what you look at when you see them. Steve Martin runs across John Candy. John Candy steals his taxi. They meet at the airport. The airport has been delayed. He sees him, and we first really get introduced with John Candy when he's inside the airport and he's holding a book, says the Canadian Mounted, which is pretty much a in joke for him because he is Canadian, so he wanted to point out that he is Canadian. And he usually does it in his films, and anytime you watch a movie with John Candy, there's always something he's representing his country with. Steve Martin accuses him, and he remembers where he sees him at, and they have their different moments. And this is the first of many because it escalates more and more as the movie progresses, and we see the differences from both sides. We see the differences from John Candy's side, and we see the difference from Steve Martin's side. He just wants to go home to see his family on time for Thanksgiving dinner. John Candy, he just seems to be moozing around. He's just taking his time. He doesn't got the care in the world, but he's really trying to get there. After a long time of delays and trying to find a hotel room, they managed to get one. So when they're inside the motel room, they're sharing apparently the same bed. Steve Martin has had it up to here, and he just lashes out. And he's telling him everything that's really ticking him off and how he's just a bad person. How does anybody could just tolerate being near him? And he's just an irritable person. So John Candy delivers a line right back. He says, you know what? I like being me. And I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm just going to go to sleep and just continue on to the next day. But that's it. I just like being me. It is quite unusual for the two characters as every time they seem to part ways, something just draws them right back together again. One of the most, I guess, famous scenes of the film is when Steve Martin has already parted his way. He goes to the airport and he has completely lost it. His car is not there. Everything has been going wrong. Everything has been stopping him from going to see his family in Chicago. So he just lashes out in a tangent of 18 F words in under a minute at this woman. And she makes the best comeback to him when he just lashes out at her. It's really hilarious. This is probably one of the most funniest scenes, even though it's the one scene that actually gave this movie an R rating. Because other than that, it would be very much a PG-13 type of film. Steve Martin just goes out of the airport, flips out, and he runs to John Candy again. Same thing happens over and over until the very end when they finally part their ways and we get the resolution of why John Candy is the way he is when he's trying to see his wife, when he talks about his wife so much, and Steve Martin when he talks about having family and being family. We see a result, and that's what makes this film so much more enjoyable because now we get to see the reason. We hear about the reason, we see the scenario, and then the outcome of it, it really is a fantastic film. If you have seen this film, then you know what I'm talking about. But if you have not seen this film after you watch this review, watch the movie. Let me know in the comments below after watching the movie what your thoughts were and why did you enjoy it. And if this is a holiday classic for you, it has not been for me until the past 5 years, and I fell in love with it ever since, and now I watch it every single year. Like this video, share it. I just want to let you know I am thankful. It's Thanksgiving Day, so I am very thankful for all of you that have been supporting me, sharing the videos, and have subscribed. I have over 60 subscribers, so I think I have 70. Don't quote me on that just yet, but I believe I have 70. I'm very thankful for that, every single one of you. And keep sharing. I very much appreciate it. And hope to see you around to the next review. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless. Cheers.